There's a moment almost everyone shares, no matter where they grew up or how old they are, sitting on the floor, completely lost in a toy. Maybe it was snapping together bricks, staging a wrestling match, or transforming a robot from a car into something that felt almost alive. But toys aren't just background noise in childhood, they're one of the biggest industries in the world. And in America, they didn't just entertain kids, they built billion-dollar empires, shaped culture, and quietly influenced how generations think and play. So how did toys in America go from simple wooden objects to something that dominates entire markets and makes more money than some countries? That story starts way earlier than most people think. Back in the early 1800s, toys in America were nothing like what we know today. There were no big brands, no aisles stacked with colorful plastic, and definitely no TV commercials convincing kids what to want. Most toys were handmade. Parents or local craftsmen would carve dolls out of wood, sew rag figures, or build simple puzzles. These weren't mass-produced, they were personal. And more importantly, toys weren't really seen as essential. Childhood itself wasn't treated the same way it is today. Kids were expected to work, help out, grow up fast. That began to change during the Industrial Revolution. As factories spread across the United States, something shifted. Production became faster, cheaper, and more consistent. Suddenly, toys could be made in large quantities. What was once a luxury slowly became accessible to more families. By the late 1800s and early 1900s, companies started forming around this idea. One of the earliest major names was what would eventually become Milton Bradley Company, founded by Milton Bradley. He wasn't just making toys, he was shaping how people thought about play. Board games became tools for learning, strategy, and even morality. At the same time, another giant was forming. Hasbro, originally founded by the Hassenfeld brothers. They didn't start with toys at all. They sold textiles. But over time, they pivoted, and that pivot changed everything. And then there's Mattel, founded in 1945 by Harold Matson and Elliot Handler. Mattel started by making picture frames, until they realized the scraps could be turned into dollhouse furniture. That small decision turned into a massive breakthrough. Because what these companies understood, before almost anyone else, was that toys weren't just objects, they were stories. That idea exploded in the mid-20th century, when television entered the picture. This is where toys stopped being passive and started becoming experiences. In the 1950s and 60s, toy companies began advertising directly to children through TV. It sounds normal now, but at the time, it was revolutionary. Suddenly, kids weren't just receiving toys, they were asking for specific ones. And this is where we start seeing the birth of iconic toy lines tied directly to characters, narratives, and entire worlds. Take action figures. Before the 1960s, boys didn't really play with dolls. There was a stigma around it. Then Hasbro introduced G.I. Joe in 1964 and avoided calling it a doll. They called it an action figure. That single marketing decision created an entirely new category. Fast forward to the 1980s, and this is where things really take off. This era is often called the golden age of toys, and for good reason. It's when entertainment and toys fully merged. A perfect example is Transformers. Originally developed through a partnership between Hasbro and Japanese company Takara, Transformers weren't just toys, they were backed by a full animated TV series. The toys came first, but the show made kids care. Now, instead of just buying a robot, You were buying Optimus Prime. You were buying a character with a personality, a story, a purpose. That same strategy showed up everywhere. He-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and later on, WWE action figures, which capitalized on the massive popularity of professional wrestling. Kids weren't just playing. They were recreating matches, building storylines, becoming part of the spectacle they saw on TV. And then there's one of the most powerful toy systems ever created, Lego. What made Lego different wasn't just the bricks, it was the system. Every piece worked with every other piece. That level of compatibility meant you weren't just buying a toy, you were building a world. Originally founded by Ole Kirk Christiansen in Denmark, Lego expanded massively into the American market and became one of the most dominant toy brands globally. And unlike many toy trends, Lego never really faded. It evolved into themed sets, movies, video games, but the core idea stayed the same. Build anything you can imagine. Now let's talk scale, because this is where things get almost hard to believe. The toy industry today is massive. Globally, it generates well over $100 billion a year. The United States alone makes up a huge portion of that market. Millions, actually billions, of toys are produced every single year. It's not even a small number you can picture easily. Think about every store, every online order, every holiday season, and then multiply that across the entire country. Companies like Mattel and Hasbro dominate large sections of the market, especially in categories like dolls, action figures, and licensed products. Mattel controls major brands like Barbie and Hot Wheels. Hasbro controls everything from Nerf to Monopoly to Transformers. And Lego, even though it started outside the US, competes at the same level, often leading in construction toys. These companies aren't just selling toys anymore. They're managing intellectual property, entertainment franchises, and global supply chains. But here's something most people don't think about. A huge percentage of toys are only popular for a short time. Trends move fast. What's huge one year can disappear the next. That means companies are constantly racing to create the next big thing. And that leads to overproduction. Every year, an enormous number of toys go unsold. Some get discounted, some get stored, and some are simply thrown away. It's one of the less talked about sides of the industry. Because toys aren't just fun, they're products. And like any product, they're tied to demand, marketing, and timing. And yet, despite all of that, the business, the scale, the competition, the core idea hasn't really changed. Toys are still about imagination. Whether it's a wooden doll from the 1800s or a fully articulated action figure from today, the goal is the same. Give someone something simple and let their mind do the rest. From hand-carved wooden figures to billion-dollar global franchises, toys in America didn't just evolve. They exploded into something far bigger than anyone could have predicted. They shaped childhood, built industries, and created entire worlds out of plastic, metal, and imagination. And the next time you walk past a toy aisle or see a new release trending online, it's worth remembering. Every one of those started with a simple idea. Not just to entertain, but to let someone create something of their own. Because in the end, the most powerful part of any toy isn't what it is. It's what you turn it into.